What's up, guys? My name is Jermaine, and welcome back to It's Not That Deep. What are y'all mad about today? Me? Well, I'm not mad, but technically I had a whole situation to talk about, but I have something recent that just happened that I kind of want to bring up. So I just received a phone call right before I started filming this episode, and um, we'll just, it was a call about, I had supported a friend through a tough time in their life. And this person that just was really bad for them circled back around. And long story short, there was a situation that ended up happening. Not bad, but what struck me was in the conversation, they were like, yeah, I didn't have anybody to call that would understand it. So I had to call you. And like, I really hate about myself that like I really just be it's like I can piece together. I don't know. It's just weird how when people are talking, like I'm putting together different dots. I'm connecting different dots in my head about different things. But that specific statement, although I'm sure it was innocent because we're just not going to believe that this person has any ill intentions towards me. But it was just that statement right there in the mix of what you were saying kind of discounted everything else that we were talking about, and my affected my level of input into the conversation to a point to where it's just like, okay, well, what the fuck are you here talking to me for? Go find somebody, go explain the situation to somebody then who wants to understand it. Don't make me the fucking option, the last option at the end of well, nobody else in my contact list is gonna know, so let me call Jermaine. That's not how I operate. And that just doesn't work for me. um but it just goes to show, like, you have to be very mindful of what you say to people and how you say it, because again, that I 9 times out of 10 that wasn't meant to be negative in any type of way. But also, I mean, is that just your subconscious mind actually saying what the fuck you think? Because fuck you. Just kidding. No, but for real. Anyways, um enough about that. It just happened and it just blew me. Like, that whole part of the conversation just really took me for a spin. um but anyways, let's stick to topic. So in today's episode, I just want to talk for a minute. I'm not here to argue. I just have a few things that have been pretty heavy on my mind lately. And there's this part of me that I can feel developing right now, like within the last 2 or 3 months. I've taken a lot of time to do some inner work, as I always am. But I've been on this artist ways journey, the artist way. Actually, let me be honest. I kind of got pissed at chapter 3 and never went back. But I'm forcing myself to this week, I promise. One thing from the artist's way that I've actually stuck to, though, is something called morning pages. So every morning, first thing I do is grab my college ruled spiral notebook and I write 3 full pages, front and back, of whatever comes to mind. Just stream of consciousness, no filter. There's rules to it, though. The main one being, you can't think about what you're writing, because that's literally the point. You just dump everything that's like just sitting in your head first thing in the moment that you wake up. All the noise, all the mental tabs, just onto the paper. It's like just clearing your cache first thing every morning. And yo, like, these morning pages have the wildest effect on me. My mind's always moved a mile a minute for as long as I can remember, but since doing them, there's less noise in my head throughout the day to where I'm more focused. My writer's block is almost gone. I feel more creative. I'm faster at making decisions. It's really weird, but I'm definitely in it, and I see the effect that it has on me. I want to do these for the rest of my life, honestly. I actually just finished my first notebook the other day, and that was a pretty cool moment for me. Like, front and back of every page of an entire college ruled spiral notebook just filled with just streams of consciousness. But yeah, I've been reflecting on a few topics lately, and I think they're super relevant to the times that we're in. So let's talk. So the first thing I want to talk about is intentionality. Specifically, intentionality being the most important thing that you can have in any type of relationship. And listen, everybody keeps saying communication is the most important thing in a relationship. And yeah, that's cool, but you know what else is important? Actually doing something with those words. Because talking ain't hard. We all have mouths, but intention, that's action. That's follow through. That's saying, let's catch up soon, and then pulling out your phone like, cool, when are you free? Followed by, like, I got you, and then you actually having me. You know, simple concept, but a lot of us just don't understand it, don't get it. I've learned that communication without intention is just noise. Like, some of y'all could give a TED talk about energy and just still never show up. Because, see, intentional people don't just talk about effort, they put the effort on the calendar. They don't check in when they can, they make time to because they value you. And in a world that moves faster every day, someone making time for you is the newest form of love language. I used to lack intentionality around me so much, and it used to like really just like burn my soul. It almost feels shameful to say that, but I mean, as Brene Brown says, the opposite of shame is vulnerability. So we're just going to be real about it. But for years, I kept saying actions speak louder than words. Like I said that a lot, while still allowing people to stay in my life whose actions were damn near silent. And that was on me. That's my accountability, because I've always been an intentional person. I make time to check in, you know. How's that house down payment savings going? How's the new position? Hey, Kroger got a Red Bull on sale. Thought of you. Just the little stuff. But in my book, it's big. I pay attention. I remember. I follow up. That's how I show love. But there was a point where that started to hurt because I'd look around and I'd realize I'm the one front row and center for everybody else, but who's holding the camera for me and actually doing a good job and actually wanting to do it? Because I know how y'all get when someone hands y'all the camera to take their picture. Y'all just don't be giving a damn. But who's asking about my passions, my projects, my peace, you know? And it's not an I need validation thing. It's a human thing. We all want to feel seen. And when you're consistently showing up for people who don't return that energy, it starts to chip away at your spirit. You start feeling like maybe you're just too much to handle, too much for everybody, when really you're just with the wrong people. And the faster you realize that, the better off you'll be and the less let down you'll be. Because intentionality is the new standard. Intentionality is the truest form of communication. Intentionality is about follow through. Convenience is the price you pay for community, damn it. You can't always be unavailable. Sometimes you do indeed have to show up for the plot. I've done it. I do it. Because, I mean, I'm an introverted, isolated person. Everybody knows that, who hates all people, places, and things. And I really love nothing more than just to roam the world alone with AirPods, blasting music, not speaking a word to anyone. But I'm also a friend who remembers what you have going on. I'll show up to the parties and the family events and the business launches and the sports games and the coffee meetups and the movies, or just sitting and vibing. Two things can be true at once. When you're intentional, I'm both of those people. I make notes for things in my calendar so I'll remember them. I'll schedule a text message to send because I know I'm forgetful at times. I do it for the people who are important in my life because I never want anyone I love and care about to not believe that and feel that, to feel that presence of intention. Time is an investment. And if you want good people around you, and I mean good people, you got to invest. But the ROI is, that's what I pay attention to. Not the promises, not the plans, the presence. And if that's too much for you, cool. Just say you're not built for solid people. But don't pretend you're busy. We all make time for what we value. Don't pretend you're busy because we all make time for what we value. Everybody talks about effort like it's a gift. Nah, effort is basic requirements, intention is respect. Who do you value? The next topic that I've been thinking about that I've really just like enhanced within myself over the last several months is not explaining myself. I feel like my tolerance for talking is getting thinner as I age, which another thing that's developing along with my frontal lobe is just the older you get, the less I explain myself. And this is not contrary to my last statement of intentionality. This is the boundary that supports that statement because I've hit that point in my life where my peace comes first, period. My peace comes first, period. If I don't feel like it, I'm not doing it. No excuse, no explanation, no maybe next time. Maybe a little bit of an explanation depending on what it is. But I don't need to be understood to be at peace. I just need to be okay with my own decisions. And I'm really growing with that and I'm sticking to that. I used to be that person who over-explained everything. Someone would ask me to do something and I'd be given a whole PowerPoint presentation of why I couldn't. You know, I'm tired because work had me up late and early again, and then I spilled coffee and didn't get to eat, et cetera, et cetera. Like, nah, like why was I defending my fatigue like I was on trial or something? I think that came from wanting to keep everybody comfortable, plus the falsehood of, like I don't want people to feel the way I felt type shit that I'm working through. I didn't want to seem selfish or difficult or like I didn't care, but therapy taught me something different. And I remember my therapist asked me to write out what I'm doing when I'm at my best. Like when I feel like the most like myself version of myself, basically. And bro, when I looked at that list, the common thread was simple. I'm my best when I'm taking care of me first. When I'm fed, I'm rested, I'm grounded, I'm moving with intention. I realized my peace is tied to how well I meet my own needs before I try to meet anybody else's. When I'm prioritizing myself, I show up better for my work, for my people, for my purpose. Self-prioritization isn't selfish, it's self-maintenance. The problem is we live in a world that makes you feel guilty for that. Like if you choose yourself, you're changing, right? If you set a boundary, you're distant. If you say no, you're difficult. But here's the truth. The people who benefited from your lack of boundaries are always going to call them walls. Saying no doesn't mean you're closed off. It means you're conscious. We've been conditioned to overthink every no. You say it and then spend hours just replaying it in your head, wondering if you should have said yes. Or maybe offered a rain check or other options. Like, bro, no is already a complete sentence. We all know that. We've all heard that saying. But add anything else and you're just writing a paragraph to people who don't even read. And I don't mean that literally. But don't get it twisted though. There is a difference between giving a reason and giving an explanation. I'm still a considerate person. So if my best friend's having a birthday party and I can't make it, I'm going to say why. I'm not going to ghost you. But what I'm not going to do is over justify it. I'm not writing a 3-page paragraph essay about my energy level or trying to convince you it's not personal. Because if you know me, you already know it's not. And if you don't, then my explanation wouldn't fix that anyway. That's the difference. I can give you a reason out of respect, but I don't owe you an explanation out of guilt. And now, truthfully, I don't even think about it anymore. Facts. And that's the growth. Not thinking about it because, thinking Thinking was the trap. It is the trap. The moment you start justifying your no, you're making room for someone else's discomfort inside your peace. And I'm not doing that anymore. I'm not in the game for that, because the goal isn't to become cold, it's to become clear. Hold on. Because I still love you. I still care. But I'm not explaining myself to make you feel okay about me choosing me. I don't owe anyone an apology or a reason for what keeps me sane. My peace doesn't need permission slips. Like so, like that. One thing you have to learn in life is to just let the rotten fruit fall. Hear me out. I've never been a get my lick back person. I'm more of a let the rotten fruit fall type. Because like, why would I waste energy trying to teach somebody a lesson that life is already preparing to whoop their ass with? Some people don't need payback. They just need patience, because karma's already on the way. When you're a person who leads with good intentions for people, you can watch people who did you wrong crash out all by themselves. Not in a ha-ha way, but in a yup, that's exactly what you sold kind of way. And I used to think that made me cold, like maybe I should care more. Maybe I should try to make things right. But now I realize sometimes the best apology you'll ever get is leaving people in the same chaos they tried to hand to you. And that's not being petty, that's being protected. I think we glorify vengeance too much. Everybody wants to spin the block emotionally. Everybody wants their full circle moment. But the older I get, the more I realize the real flex is moving on without needing closure. Like, bro, you know how powerful it is to be indifferent while someone's still trying to figure out if you're mad? My favorite way to feel is indifferent. Love and hate both require energy. Indifference is a lack thereof. Once I'm there, it's smooth sailing. They're out here rehearsing excuses in their head, and you're at peace eating a bowl of cereal. That's karma. The thing about hurting people who actually have pure intentions for you, the universe takes that personally. And I've seen it too many times. And the wild part, when you're empathetic, it's almost harder to watch, because you're like, damn, you really did me dirty, but I also see where your behavior came from. That's where that emotional intelligence struggle kicks in, especially for me, because I'm like, yeah, you had me fucked up, but you're also fucked up. And you start feeling conflicted, like, I'm mad, but I also get it. That's the worst kind of empathy, though. The kind that makes you care about people who couldn't even spell care. But even then, I still don't wish bad on anybody, because I've learned the universe doesn't need my help. The energy always comes back. And when it does not miss. That's why I've learned to just step aside, let the rotten fruit fall, let people rot in the same garden that they planted. Because I'd rather spend my energy watering something that's growing than waiting for something dead to apologize. Revenge is a short-term win. Peace is a long-term strategy, right? So I don't know about you, but I'm trying to be happy, not right. So that brings me to another point, and that is when emotional intelligence turns on you. You ever been sitting there trying to be mad at somebody and your brain won't let you? Like, you're ready to cut them out, and then here comes your self-awareness talking about, well, they grew up without emotional stability. Hey, bruh, let me be mad in peace, me to my mind. Being emotionally intelligent is like having 4K vision in a world that's easier to watch blurry. Once you start seeing people for who they are and why they are, you can't unsee it. You start noticing their triggers, their insecurities, their my bad that never turns into my change. And the hardest part is you get it. You understand it. You know why they shut down. You know why they lie. You know why they can't show up consistently. So now you're stuck between compassion and self-respect. Your mind's like, be kind. Your heart's like, be done. And your piece is just in the back like, pick one. I used to think understanding people would make me lighter, but it actually made me heavier. Because when you don't understand too much, when you understand too much, you start making excuses for people who don't deserve that much grace. Empathy without boundaries is just self-neglect in a nice outfit. I've been there. I tell myself, they're not a bad person. They're just hurt. And sure, maybe that was right. Maybe that's true. But being hurt doesn't give you a license to keep hurting people. Get that through your thick ass skull. And here's the trap. When you're emotionally intelligent, you start fixing. You want to love them through it. You want to help them see themselves. But some people don't want to see themselves. They like the dark because accountability lives in the light and they just won't have that. So now you're drowned and drained because you're busy trying to be somebody's healing while your own wounds are screaming for attention. So I had to learn that my empathy doesn't owe anybody access, right? I can understand your story and still choose not to be a character in it. I can forgive you and still keep my distance. I can care about you and still decide you are not safe for my peace. The biggest shift for me was realizing that letting go isn't a failure of care. It's a sign of growth. It means I can hold compassion without carrying people. And that's what emotional intelligence is really about. Not endless understanding, but smart compassion. Compassion that does have limits. Being self-aware isn't about excusing people's behavior. It's about recognizing when something's no longer your responsibility to understand. We all go through life carrying something. We all have burdens. We all have things that we had to grow from and things that we had to overcome and things that we thought would kill us, things that did kill parts of us, things that could have turned us or did turn us into very sour versions of ourselves. You can understand that about someone. You can see what they've been through. You can recognize someone's pain, you can see the hand that life dealt them and even where and how it's fucked up. But when it comes to how you're being treated and how you allow someone to treat you is your responsibility. Because just because you have empathy and you understand it, it doesn't mean you have to allow it. And it doesn't give them the right to deserve an excuse or to be excused. There comes a point where you have to use detachment as a survival method. The hardest lesson I've learned in my adult life, one of them, is this. If you don't detach, you will self-destruct. Because when you care about everything, you end up carrying everything. Detachment isn't coldness, it's self-preservation. Sometimes you got to put your heart on airplane mode just to hear yourself think. Because being aware doesn't make you any better than the next. Actually, you think because you understand everybody and everything, you're doing the work. But that's the lie. You're not more healed just because you're more aware. Sometimes you're just more tired, depressed, and emotionally drained and overstimulated. When you don't remove and detach, everything becomes personal. And next thing you know, you're an overthinker with a therapy vocabulary trying to analyze your way into peace that requires rest instead. You can't heal if you just keep studying your wound. You know how you're not supposed to look at it like how you don't stand in front of the microwave and watch your food warm up. That's what over-awareness does. It puts you in such a negative cycle if you don't take a break from it. And when you live like that, you start calling exhaustion emotional intelligence. but really you're just drowning in everybody's energy, including your own. Like, it's okay to unplug, zoom out, touch some grass. The world is still going to be falling apart tomorrow. We'll be fine. The internet will have you feeling like you need to fix the world, right? And every lost soul breathing before you finish your cup of coffee in the morning. And that's why most of the content I consume now, food creators, travel content, and like random 15-second funny videos with comments even funnier than the video itself. Because I refuse to let every scroll be a spiritual experience. I can't, like, that's why detachment isn't about being uncaring. It's about learning self-control in what you consume. Shit is deep out here. Meditating is my favorite thing, man. Like, cause actually, yeah, let's think about nothing besides the air filling and releasing from my lungs for just an hour and a half. Sorry, a half an hour. I can't do an hour and a half. I don't know if I can empty my brain for that much, but sometimes you just gotta quiet your mind before you can hear your heart again. You can't tell what's intuition versus anxiety if you never turn the volume down. Unplug. Please unplug. I had to learn that detachment is a return to center. It's that moment when you stop trying to control outcomes and just focus on regulating yourself. Depersonalization isn't always a mental break. Sometimes it's your soul saying, we've been too plugged in. Like, your body's trying to save you from burnout by pulling you out of that chat, pulling you out of the chat. And that's when I realized, like, I'm not calmer because I care less. I'm calmer because I learned to filter. Everything doesn't deserve front row access to my energy. Every post, every opinion, every argument, every can I call you real quick? Some of that stuff can wait. Some of it doesn't even belong to you. Detachment it isn't escaping life. It's more protecting your capacity to live it. And if you don't learn to step back sometimes, you'll mistake overstimulation for purpose and then call it growth. And that's not growth. You're burnt out. For real. So yeah, that's what's been on my mind lately. It's crazy how everything I've talked about today kind of ties back to one thing. Like, for real, like self-awareness with boundaries, like being intentional with your time, saying no without guilt, letting karma do its job, understanding people without losing yourself, and knowing when to detach before you drown in your own thoughts. Growth ain't always loud. Oftentimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's you just taking a breath before you react. Sometimes it's you saying, I'm good, and meaning it. And that's what this phase of my life feels like. Not perfect, just peaceful. In a lot of ways, like, I'm not trying to be everywhere. I'm trying to stay centered. Be where your feet are, as a wise person said, and I'm trying to live that. If something in this episode hit you, or you felt seen in any way, share it with somebody who needs to hear it too. Thank you for joining me on another episode of It's Not That Deep. Please take care of yourself. It's the most important thing to do out there. I'll see you guys next week. We have 3 episodes left this season. We're killing it. Or it's killing us.